Com. All right. Hi, everybody. It's February 21st, 2019, and it's time for my private audio call. Tonight, we have Rich Iverson on as our guest speaker. Okay, Rich, you got the floor.
Okay, well, and I have questions about the roof because I'm curious to know if I'm in a bad position regarding Democrats. You see, because my roof is being held up by walls. I'm sorry. I just
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know what I don't know what to do. I think I'm breaking some kind of law, but you know. I thought I'd better make the admission, full disclosure, get it out of the way right off. Anyway, well, I wasn't really prepared to talk about anything because I didn't know I was going to be on here until a little bit ago. So what I thought I'd do would be address something that was brought to my attention about a month ago by one of the listeners who actually got in touch with me, and we hooked up and spoke about all things law. And he mentioned to me that there was apparently somebody sat in the chat room or whatever, and was offering information about how to debunk Rich Iverson. And so I wanted to address that issue. The only way for people to debunk me is to produce the law, the law or court case that trumps the law or the court cases I base my assertions on. Now, unlike a lot of other people, I'm not holding myself out to be a pro from Dover or an expert on this or that or anything else. I know what I know, and I refer to what I'm aware of and what I've done and what I'm aware other people have done, but I'm not claiming the whatever because I'm talking about, I refer to the penal code or I refer to a court case. I didn't write that. I didn't write any of the code sections I refer to, and I didn't write any of the court cases I refer to. I found this stuff, and all I'm doing is passing the information along. I've used a lot of the information successfully. I've had my ass kicked in court, and it's not pleasant, but I've learned, and I consider my losses and the losses that I know other people have had to be lessons. And so that's what I draw off of when I discuss these issues. And the issues that I typically refer to have to do with an idea that I hadn't considered until I met this dude named Richard McDonald, and that was freedom and unalienable or inalienable rights. So after running across Richard McDonald and finding out that there was a possibility I didn't need to have a driver's license or register my car, I thought to myself, well, that sounds pretty cool, because I can't stand going to the DMV. I don't like standing in line, and I don't like the people on the other side of the counter. So I don't want to go there. But I got to go there. At least that's what I thought. And then after I got together with Richard McDonald and I studied with him and corroborated what he was saying, I did what I thought was the appropriate thing. I made a decision based on the law and the facts. And based on the law and the facts, I rescinded, I took measures to rescind the contract with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Now, for those folks on the call who don't know who I am, that's okay. I'm you, okay? I'm you over here in California. This is where I popped out. This is where I hang out. This is where I did the majority of my growing up. I don't know if I'm entirely grown up, but in any event, this is where I've learned my trade, so to speak. And again, I'm just like everybody. I'm just a dude. I like music. I like things other people like. I'm not special. I don't claim to be special. I'm aware of what I'm aware of, and the only reason I'm aware of it is because One, I've been hurt because I didn't know what I was doing. And two, once I began figuring out what to do, I got better at it. And it comes from reading and thinking and talking and typing, and then figuring out how much of what I read, thought, typed, and said was accurate and how much of it wasn't. Well, that's what I do. I just sit around and I read the rules. I read court cases. I think about the court cases I read, the rules, how I can use that to my advantage, what kind of questions. As far as I'm concerned, Angela, for me, one of the hardest things about going to court, I know there's people who advocate don't go to court, but it's a damn good place to rehearse in real time. And if you have let's say you have you were accused of a fine only, where they just want your money, traffic violation, the downside isn't very much. So if you want to go to court and get some real world experience, a couple $100 for a law lesson. My law lessons have been very expensive. I've paid some pretty heavy dues for what I'm aware of. So if anybody wants to debunk me, well, come on and produce your stuff. Just show me the evidence, and if you have better evidence than me, I'll concede. It's just that simple. I'm interested in the best evidence I can lay my hands on. Why? Because evidence is what works in court. And if you don't have enough evidence, you're not going to win. Now, the good news for everybody on the call who's ever gotten what they call a traffic ticket is the accuser never proves every element of the purported crime. And yeah, if you're standing in a traffic court, you've been accused of a crime in their eyes. They believe it's a crime. Okay, great. Well, it's your lucky day. There's this stuff called legal procedure. That means the rules used to when you're in the middle of a criminal action. And there's civil procedure. That civil procedure are the rules that are used in civil actions. So read the rules. I'm not trying to reinvent anything or create something new. All I'm doing is bringing information to people's attention who more than likely don't have it. And if they want to act on it, far out. Well, here's what I taught myself. And I heard it from somebody else, and then I verified it. I don't have a driver's license anymore. I don't register what I ride around in anymore, and I am never going to do that stuff ever again because I know what the DMV regulates, and I don't do that. So I don't need one of those little cards. And I'm not going to, and they can't make me get one. You know why, folks? All you law heads ought to know. Because you can't get a license unless you qualify for it. You got to qualify. What does that mean? It means contract. Now, let's say I get stopped and I'm accused of not having a driver's license. So what? They got to prove the contract. They got to prove I was involved in the conduct the license permits. Folks, they never do. Never. Watch Tucker Carlson last night's show, Tucker Carlson. He had a guest on, and they referred to this Juicy Smollett guy, this fraud, this dude who claimed that he was beaten up by a couple of MAGA assholes who put a rope around his neck. Well, now he's done a really good thing for the gay and lesbian community and made them look like complete idiots. And he's also made black people look pretty bad as well. So the point is he fabricated a story. He lied, and it's going to be easy for them to prove their case because there's actually video. When it comes to an infraction of the vehicle code, which is a fine-only penalty, the prosecution never proves every element of the crime. That's what they got to do in that case against the dude in Chicago. That's what they got to do against Roger Stone. They got to prove every element of the crime. The guest on Tucker Carlson's show last night, when referring to the Smollett case, referred to interstate commerce. I was floored. Yeah, it's a federal crime. Federal crimes have
Wait a
an
minute.
Go ahead.
You said it. Who said it had to do with interstate commerce?
The guest on Tucker Carlson's show last night, a woman, I believe she was an attorney, and she was invited on to comment about this case, this fraud case. This guy perpetrated this fraud.
Yeah.
Now, there's a mail fraud issue, because
Ah.
what preceded this escalation in drama was a letter he had allegedly sent to himself, where he called himself I forget the exact terms, but black faggot or something, I don't know, or gay fag, whatever. And so he sent that letter to himself, allegedly, and apparently that didn't work. So then he staged this on-camera presentation, if you will, okay? And so the point is, when that letter was deposited into the mail, it became a federal crime because he used the federal mail for a nefarious or surreptitious or illegal purpose. He sent a threat through an implied threat through the mail. You can't do that. That's mail fraud, okay? So if the feds are going to go ahead and prosecute this guy, one of the elements they're going to have to prove is interstate commerce. Every alleged federal offense involves interstate commerce. And as it turns out, there's a really killer 3.25-page decision. And I want to double check it here real quick. I'll tell everybody what it is. I just need to locate it.
Okay.
It's called, there we go, the Burton decision. Folks, this is an absolutely incredible court case. It's United States of America versus Donald Keith Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N. United States, U.S. versus Burton, B-U-R-T-O-N. This is for the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit, it was in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. This is the case number 02-60428. I'll repeat that. 02-60428. This was a case that was decided on March 12th, 2003 in the Southern District of Mississippi. Now, this is an absolutely incredible case. The dude was, he did a carjacking. Now, he's a convicted felon. So he stole a car and was in possession of the gun that he used to steal a car at the time he was stopped. Okay? So we got a felon on parole with a loaded weapon that he used to steal a car he was in that he was stopped in. Okay? Now, I don't know about the rest of you folks, but knee-jerk reaction, this idiot's going back to jail for the rest of his life, right?
Right.
Right? Felon on parole, loaded gun, steals a car, gets stopped. In the car he stole with the gun he used to steal it, he walked. For the reasons that follow, we reverse all three of Burton's convictions and vacate his sentence. Everybody want to know why? I know you do.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to use this little over three-page court case in your dink-ass infraction case here in California as evidence. It could be an exhibit. It could be a judicial notice. You could enter it into the record as under a judicial notice. This is a case from another, from the federal side, out of Mississippi, but it can be used and entered into the record either as an exhibit or judicial notice. So, okay, we review the claim to determine whether there was a manifest miscarriage of justice. Those are great terms, and those are in quotes. Whether there was a manifest miscarriage of justice, quote unquote. That's a great phrase. I can use that in California, okay? And I don't have to make reference to this case, but I can use those words in a pleading if I wanted to. Was there a manifest miscarriage of justice? Well, I don't know. What are the facts? Burton challenges his conviction on counts 1 and 2, asserting that the government failed to prove a nexus to interstate commerce, an essential element of both crimes. Specifically, Burton argues that the government failed to prove that the vehicle involved in the carjacking and that the firearm he possessed had been transported in interstate commerce. Bingo! Put your thinking caps on, lawheads. The court just told you how to beat a damn traffic ticket. The prosecution has to prove every element of the purported crime, and they never prove you were a driver with any evidence. A driver is someone who gets paid. Were you delivering anything at the time you were stopped, like a pizza, flowers, maybe somebody to their granny or grandpa's house? Huh? Were you delivering anything? Were you being compensated at the time you were stopped? They got to prove that. They got to prove that. They got to prove the machine is a motor vehicle. How are they going to prove the machine with the combustion engine is a motor vehicle if you weren't delivering anything, if it wasn't used for commercial purposes, like delivering something or someone, like Uber guy or an Uber girl or a cab driver or drivette, whatever you want to call them. They deliver stuff for a living. Guess what card the Uber driver has? It's the same card the cab driver has. Gender has nothing to do with it. But the class of that card does. It's a Class C. That's all you got to have to qualify to be an Uber driver. Hey, guess what? All you folks who don't work for Uber or Lyft or any of these other companies, you can already do that. You've already got the permission card. All you got to do is start telling people who get in that car, the seat over there, is like, that's going to be $5. They become a passenger when they pay you. Until then, they're a guest at best. A traffic stop, or in the case I've been working on with this guy, a DUI case, the cop identified his contact as a quote-unquote traffic enforcement stop. He was enforcing traffic laws. What does traffic mean? Look it up. I'll wait. Everybody on the call, look up the definition of traffic. You are not going to see the word congestion anywhere in the definition. So please stop using that. Traffic means commerce. A traffic stop is an arrest for a violation of a law that applies to commercial users of the streets and highways. Going to get an ice cream cone is not the commercial use of the streets and highways. You're using your property to go get something to eat. You're not using your machine, your property, or the asphalt that belongs to you, because the asphalt belongs to the people of the state, not the DMV. It doesn't belong to the state of California or Montana or Michigan or Delaware or Texas. That asphalt belongs to everyone on this call. So why the hell have you gone out and asked your employees up at the state capitol for their permission to use your property, on your property, to go get something to eat? Nobody in Texas, nobody in Virginia, Nobody in Kentucky who's got a horse ranch who feels like going for a ride is going to walk out and ask their stable boy for permission to ride one of their horses. But for some reason, everybody who's got a horse with 4 tires or 2 tires, they're asking their stable boys permission to use their horse on their land. There is something wrong with this equation. And nobody knows what a license is, because everybody who's on this call who has a driver's license, if they're not doing commercial, the actual commercial delivery or carrier stuff, like, what are you doing with a permission card to do that work? But that's not what you do. But if you want to have a card for doing something you don't actually do, then go get yourself a real estate license too, and a building contractor's license, and an optometrist license, and a mortuary guy or woman's license. Go get be consistent. Get a license for every damn thing. Be consistent. I mean, if you're going to have a license for, not driving, get a license for everything else too. Be consistent with it. I don't know what people need to see before they're convinced that the so-called traffic stop is an arrest, for example. What do people actually need to see? How about the actual words used by the people who write the laws? I'll use the rules over here in California. This is what the legislature, the assembly members up at the state capitol wrote in the criminal code, the penal code here in California at section 835. An arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person or by submission to the custody of an officer. That's an arrest. An arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person or by submission to the custody of an officer. Traffic stop means compulsory restraint. You can't leave until your employee says so, without fear of retribution or retaliation. So what exactly is that contact identified as? Well, I'm looking at the actual words that were written by the assembly members of California. It was passed, voted, it's the law. It's at section 835. Don't believe me, look it up. An arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person or by submission to the custody of an officer. As it turns out, courts in California have held that when the red lights are activated, that constitutes a quote-unquote show of authority or officer's show of authority. Officer, prior to your contact, is it a fact you had activated the patrol vehicle's red lights? Yes. Is it also a fact they were directed at me? Yes. And is it also a fact it was your intent that I halt? Yes. And did I comply with your intent? Yes. Now, at the time of your contact, was I free to leave? No. Looks to me like I was arrested. Now, anybody on this call wants to argue that, you better have something better than what I just read, because this is what those well-paid, well-dressed, who are getting all kinds of goodies sitting up in Sacramento wrote. And I'm going to use this against whoever attempts to get money out of my wallet and make me pick up trash by the freeway. They're going to deal with that section. Now, I didn't make that up. I just found it. A traffic stop is an arrest. Oh, and by the way, it's an arrest without a warrant. All you folks who do internet research, just go to wherever you want, type in, arrest without a warrant. Is it valid? No, it's presumptively illegal. An arrest without a warrant is presumptively illegal. Nobody can arrest anybody unless there's probable cause of crime. So this is one of the court citations I wanted to read, and this is This is really cool. The name of this case is Meints, Meints, Meints versus Huntington, 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 Meints versus Huntington.
Can you spell the
And
first name?
M
Mike?
as in Mary,
Yeah.
E as in Echo, I as in India, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, and S as in Sam.
Ah.
The site is 276 Fed 245. 276 Fed 245. It's a 1921 decision, and this is what you'll see when you locate the case. We are of the opinion that the law does not permit the citizen to consent to an unlawful restraint, nor permit such a claim to be made upon the part of the defendants. In Wharton on Criminal Law, Volume 1, Section 751E, it is said, quote, no man has a right to take away another's liberty, even though with consent, except by process of law. And the reason is that liberty is an unalienable prerogative of which no man can divest himself, and of which any divestiture is null. I don't know how that translates into anybody else's head, but it seems to me that a whole lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. Oh, and by the way, I'd like to point out that the term American and state national was not used in that case. The term citizen was. So, yeah.
Want to take a question? Ooh, I'm getting
Sure.
lots of feedback, Charles. You got to turn your speakers off. Something's happening. Do you have your speakers on? Do you have it on speakerphone? I have to mute you out, Charles. It's just too much, too much, too much. That is not you. Yeah, it was you. I unmuted you. And I just muted you back. Did you want to ask? Here, I'll unmute you again. Okay, you're unmuted, Charles. See? You have speakerphone on? We can't do the
Can you hear me
speakerphone.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Angela?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Okay. I was using the phone, and you were unmuting the speakers through the computer.
Okay. Well, I was unmuting your name on here, so I don't know what it was unmuting on your end.
Okay.
But anyway, did you have a question? Go ahead and ask your question, Charles.
Sure. Thank you, Angela. Hi, Rich.
Howdy.
Yeah, your insight is real precious. I'm glad you're sharpening the edge on that legal nexus, minimal contacts with the federal commercial jurisdiction. That was an excellent focus. It helped me elevate my game. Thank you. But I'm a little bit confused about when a local city or county or state cop is pulling you over, and then that's the jurisdiction that enforces the ticket. How do we argue that there's no federal commercial jurisdiction that prohibits the local jurisdiction from enforcing that ticket against us?
Well, that's an interesting question, and unfortunately, it's a bit convoluted. Here's the deal. If a local cop stops you, okay, if a local corporal, whatever. A local cop stops you to, for some alleged violation of the vehicle code. Number one, it is an arrest. That's first and foremost. Now, the arrest is either authorized or not.
Right.
Okay. So if it's for an alleged violation of the vehicle code, then that note, you're notified of the context of the allegation. Vehicle code, Department of Motor Vehicles, motor vehicle, traffic ticket, commerce, okay? So a local cop is enforcing commercial rules. That what they're doing is they're invoking or attempting to apply commercial rules to someone who's not involved in commerce.
Right.
So the accuser, the district attorney, has to prove the commerce element. That's part of the purported crime. It's a commercial allegedly it's a it's crime. But if it's for just money, then it's not a crime. Now they can call it a petty misdemeanor if they want to, or a class 3 misdemeanor if they want to. But if you don't get a jury trial, if you don't get an attorney paid for a public expense, and there's no jail sanction if the ruling is adverse to you, you don't have a crime, because those are 3 elements of crime. So the other thing is that they have to prove every element of the crime, and they never do. So if a local cop stops you and the district attorney decides to prosecute you, that is a burden they have to comply with. They have to carry that load.
Rich,
You don't have to prove. Go ahead.
It sounds to me like the local state and or county jurisdiction is not dependent upon the federal legal nexus minimal contacts. Is that true?
I'm going to answer it this way. We're living in what's known as federalism. There's both state and federal jurisdiction. Okay?
Right.
So the issue, go ahead.
No, I'm following you. You're good.
Oh, okay. So this has to do, if it's someone, if a cop from your town or city stops you, that's where it stays. Okay? It's a local issue. It's a state issue. All right?
Okay.
But here's what's going to happen. The prosecutor, if they decide to prosecute the case, there's rules that apply to them, and they have to comply with those rules. So if commerce is an element of the crime, they have to prove that. All right? So the feds may be involved, federal jurisdiction may be involved or not. Now, here's something to be aware of. Okay, now, everybody who's probably beyond first-year law student knows what the burden of proof is for a criminal action and also a civil action. All right, because the burden of proof standard is different, okay? So in a criminal action, the burden of proof is proof beyond a reasonable doubt of crime.
Yeah.
In a civil action, it's a preponderance of the evidence. Now, I read a court case a couple of days ago, federal court case, and it was a traffic case, and the idiot judges, instead of using proof beyond a reasonable doubt of crime, because it was clearly a criminal action, they instead used the term preponderance of the evidence. Now, I'm sitting here reading this going, really? Really? Are the attorneys in this state gonna stand or sit for this? These idiots used a civil burden of proof standard in a criminal action. Now, this is the first time in, like 25, 30 years of reading court cases I've ever seen that happen. So I guess there's a first time for everything, and I saw that the other day. That's completely whacked out. So if if the litigants, if the defendant's attorney doesn't run this up on appeal, they're absolutely stupid. And what they're doing is they're advocating or participating in legal retardation. And what's going to happen is, defendants are not going to get a vigorous defense. Here's the other thing you need to be aware of. Traffic trials are typically processed according to a reasonable suspicion standard, not a probable cause of crime standard.
Right.
All right. This is not good. Now, last time I was on Angela's call, I made mention of Terry versus Ohio, and that's the origin of reasonable suspicion. And to just briefly touch on it, the detective who confronted Terry and his partner did so predicated on probable cause of crime. He observed these guys casing a store after hours, and so he approached them. And he approached them based on probable cause of crime. Then when he was talking with Terry, he noticed a bulge under, or an odd bulge, I guess you could say, under Terry's jacket, and he asked him, "Hey, what's up?" So he patted Terry down, found a weapon. Okay. Finding the weapon followed probable cause of breaking and entering. That was a probable cause upon which the detective based his decision to go confront Terry. And then he learned about the weapon. So the weapon has to do with reasonable suspicion of armed and dangerous. Here's what's occurred since 1968. The federal courts have expanded that, have conflated reasonable suspicion of armed and dangerous with probable cause of crime. That's what's occurred. That's what's been occurring. That's what's going on in traffic court. And apparently attorneys don't know it. And if they do know it, they're not doing anything about it. So it's kind of sort of up to you. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Terry is the tool I'm going to use to kick the shit out of anyone who attempts to use reasonable suspicion in a traffic case that I'm working on. Because they don't know, they haven't read Terry versus Ohio. You'll hear stuff like this, "Oh, the seminal Terry versus Ohio decision." Yeah, when was the last time anybody actually read the damn thing? Anyway, that's so getting back, I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but here's what you have to deal with. When that officer activated those red lights to stop you, did he observe a crime? If the answer is no, that cop has a big problem. Now, I've been working with a guy on a DUI case for the last number of months, and I've heard the call to the police department dispatch. And I heard the dispatcher then communicate with the officer in the field. And here's what happened. What the dispatcher heard was not conveyed to the officer in the field. What the dispatcher heard, the dispatcher decided to amplify by about 50. And so what the officer heard was amplified hearsay, because what the dispatcher heard was hearsay. And what the dispatcher heard, that being hearsay, probably came from the desk sergeant who took the initial call, which was then conveyed to the dispatcher. So you got at least two sets of hearsay going on here. And then when the officer finally located the suspect and activated the red lights, it was not for dangerous or reckless conduct. As a matter of fact, the officer heard swerving and slamming into curbs. That's what he put in his reports. But that's not what that's what he heard, but that's not what he observed, because he also put down what he observed. And what he observed did not include any slamming or swerving. So he did not stop the suspect because of the suspect's conduct. He stopped the suspect because of a light bulb.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't stop him for a verb. He stopped him for a noun. Somebody owes the defendant a big, fat explanation, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's called a pretext stop. Actually, what I was doing before the call was going over the transcript. A guy got a transcript from a CSR who screwed it up. Hey, folks, double check your paperwork, please. This guy paid money for a transcript prepared by a certified shorthand reporter. That's someone who sits in court and types what everybody says. Well, he paid money for this transcript, and the CSR didn't put her CSR number on it. Now, here in California, CSRs have numbers. At least they used to. Maybe they don't anymore. I don't know. In addition to that, the stupid CSR identified the defendant by the arresting officer's name. Right. So it's being redone. So please check your paperwork to make sure, because people make mistakes, okay? People make mistakes. There's a lot of I's to dot and a lot of T's to cross doing this work. It's not fun most of the time. It's very tedious. It gets really, really boring, really, really fast, and you're sitting around wondering. Here's what I think is kind of cool about what's going on with the Roger Stone stuff and the Russiagate nonsense. What's really cool is the folks who are complaining, other than the CNN people and the MSNBC people, the people who are complaining are now experiencing what those of us who've had the misfortune of going to traffic court have experienced. Ha, ha, ha. Now they're starting to feel the heat. I think it's pretty funny. As a matter of fact, the guy I'm helping out with his DUI case, it's the legal principles run parallel to what happened to Roger Stone. The legal principles are the same. In my guy's case, he was never Mirandized. Roger Stone stated during a press interview he was never Mirandized. That's very damn useful. I'm sitting here reading 15 questions that the cop asked the guy I'm helping out before my guy said, am I being arrested? The officer's response was no. Okay, if he's not being arrested, then I guess he doesn't have to answer any of his questions. But he kept asking the guy questions. Said he told him twice he wasn't under arrest, but kept asking him questions. And never during the entire incident was a guy read his Miranda rights. Cop didn't have a warrant. To my knowledge, the cop didn't inform him. Hey, folks, take a look at Penal Code 841, California Penal Code, Section 841, California Penal Code, and see if you can locate that same section in your state codes. Here's what the cop has to do. Sir, you're under arrest for alleged violation of Vehicle Code Section 12345. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you can't afford an attorney, want to be provided. Do you understand what I just said to you, sir? Yes, thank you. Okay, I need to see your license, registration, and proof of insurance. Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm going to go back to the patrol vehicle. I'm going to prepare a notice to appear. Please don't leave. I'll be back promptly. Thank you for your cooperation. If you don't hear something along those lines, you're being jacked. Penal Code Section 841 imposes a rule, a duty, an obligation on a cop to tell you why the hell he's pulling you over. You know why I'm pulling you over? Oh, yeah. Stand by a second. I just got this brand new crystal ball. Still a little smoky, but it's good. Oh, yeah, I know exactly. According to the crystal ball. Wait, this is the 8-ball. Let me turn it over, Sarge. Sorry. Let's see. Highly unlikely. Is that the right answer? Do you know why I pulled you over? Give me a break. Is that what you expect from your employee? Do you know why I pulled you over? Yeah, I know why you pulled me over. Because you wanted me to see about tapping your wallet. Hey,
Pull
folks,
me
this
over.
isn't rocket science. You know, just read the damn rules and ask them if they follow them. You're the boss. Find the rules that apply to your employees. Hey, Your Honor, is it a fact that the canons of judicial ethics apply to you? Is that a provocative question? Is that reasonable? Is that offensive? Do I have the right to know whether or not the judicial officer knows or has an awareness of the canons of judicial ethics? I do, and I'm not a judge. So does that someone wearing the black robe, would they be offended because I made a simple inquiry? I mean, this is how bad the fear is in this country. People are so afraid to ask questions, they're not going to ask the right ones. They're not going to think about how to formulate a question. And I think the vast majority of people don't know anything about, the fundamentals of the process. They know instinctively it's wrong, but they can't really put their finger on why. Well, look at the rules. Law 101 is the rules. And people are attempting to use novel or unorthodox theories when the fundamental stuff works pretty damn well. If the cop doesn't have jurisdiction, then it doesn't matter what they did. It's all suppressible. Officer, is it a fact you went to the police academy? Yeah. Did you graduate? Yeah. Did you get the post certificate? Yeah. Okay, great. Now, how long you been on the job? 10 years. Great. You how long is your shift? It's 8 hours. Great. During your shift, do you ever enforce the vehicle code? Yeah. Okay, great. Approximately how many times you pull someone over for a violation of the vehicle code during your shift? A ballpark figure: 1, 3, 5, 7. Maybe 1 or 2. Great. And you've been doing this for 10 years? Yeah. Okay, great. So you probably have a better understanding of the vehicle code than I do, because you're number one, you're a policeman and you agreed to enforce the code, and you gotta know what you're enforcing, right? Otherwise, you probably make a mistake and wind up getting sued or costing your employer a lot of money because they got sued because you didn't know what you were doing. So you probably know what the rules are, right? Yeah. Okay. Take them on a journey. Hey, officer, do you have personal knowledge of Penal Code Section 841? Yes. Great. And were you in compliance with that section on January 29th, 2019? So when you got to my window, you informed me why you had initiated contact. Is that correct? His words in court better match what's on the audio CD of the recording they make when they walk up to your car. They either have a body cam, a body microphone, a dash cam, or a dash microphone, or some damn thing they're recording. Officer, at the time of your contact, was that state authorized business? It sure was. Great. So at the time you activated the patrol vehicle's red lights, that was state authorized business? It sure was. Hey, folks, don't you think you'd like to know where the authorization is located in either the penal code or the vehicle code? If the cop says he was authorized to do what he did, then theoretically he would know where the authorization exists. Would we all agree? Come on. Hey, cop, you did it. What rule said you get to do it? What rule permitted you to do it? Just tell me what it is and I'll pay. I don't want to spend any more time here than I absolutely have to. Just tell me what code section authorized you to make a warrantless arrest for a burned-out light bulb, and, Your Honor, you can impose whatever sanction the legislature calls for under the circumstances.
Good. That's good, Rich.
Hey, just ask them where the damn rule is that they were in compliance with, because you've been accused of not following the rules, right? Well, yeah. You're the boss, and you've been accused of not following the rules, and I'm talking to everybody on the call. Thank you for being patient. You've been accused of breaking the rules. Well, how do you know your employees didn't break the rules?
Right.
If you don't ask them, you're never going to know. Now here's what we have going for us. Everybody with a stick and a gun riding around in cop cars believes that they are God and they can't be touched. No problem. Their ego is going to answer all the questions you ask the right way. As long as you ask the right questions, their ego will answer correctly. Are you a sworn California peace officer? Yes, I am. Were you acting in that capacity on this date? Yes, I was. Great. Now, is it a fact on that date you initiated contact with me? Yes, I did. And was the purpose of your contact to enforce the vehicle code? Yes, it was. Officer, at the time prior to your contact, did you activate the patrol vehicle's red lights? I sure did. Great. Were they directed at me? Yes, they were. Did you? And was it your intent that I halt? Yes. Did I comply with your intent? Yes. Officer, when you were attending the police academy, were you introduced to rules that apply to criminal law? Yes. Were you introduced were you informed that you don't have the authority to arrest anybody for non-criminal conduct? Yes. Is it a fact that at the time of your contact I was not free to leave? Yes. Is it also a fact you were not in possession of or responding to a warrant for my arrest or the search and seizure of my car? Yes. This guy is answering these questions exactly the way I want him to. Now, I already got the jerk to admit half of a crime. He committed half of a crime. Was it your intent that I halt? Yes. Did I comply with your intent? Yes. Well, that's half of a crime. What's the crime? False arrest, false imprisonment. It was intentional, and he did it. Bingo. Officer, is this your signature at the bottom of this notice to appear? Yes. Thank you. Case closed. He intended to stop me. He admitted he did. I came to a halt. I wasn't free to leave. I got his signature on a piece of paper. Hey, folks, take a look at California Vehicle Code, Section 40504. 40504. Not only were you arrested, folks, but you were in custody. And you were in custody by someone identified by the term arresting officer. And the legislature, the lawmaking body of California, or wherever state you're in, well, at least out here, they identified the party to whom the arresting officer hands that piece of paper as the arrestee. I wonder what it was then. A traffic stop. I wonder where that term comes from, because it's not in the vehicle code. Traffic stop is not in the vehicle code. There's no procedures for traffic stops. There's no procedures for detentions either. And there's no procedures for enforcement stops or traffic enforcement stops or traffic stops. Those rules do not exist. Now, if anybody can find rules that apply to those things, please let me know. I'd like to look at them, because I've never seen any rules that apply to detentions, traffic stops, traffic enforcement stops, or anything other than arrest. So that's what I'm going to use, because that's what the lawmakers wrote. That's what they used. They're my employees. They must know what they're doing. They're getting paid handsomely. They get cost of living increases. Everybody on this call is paying for the medical, dental, and optical, plus all the other goodies the folks up at the state capitol who make the laws get. Might want to read what they wrote. You hired them. I didn't hire these assholes. I don't vote for them. They don't represent me. They don't do anything for me except cause me a lot of aggravation. I don't care about them. I care about what they wrote, though. I don't have to argue anything. I just have to show them their own damn rules. And if they want to argue, they're not going to argue with Rich Iverson. You know, They're not going to debunk me. I put them in the position of debunking other members of the branch of the same company that they work for. Ha, ha, ha. Or their superior officers. Any of you guys on this call, have you been in the military? Did you ever countermand a superior officer's order? If the major says do something, you're going to do it, right? Is the corporal going to go, the old man doesn't know what he's talking about. Never mind those cigarette butts. You don't have to drop him, give him 20. Never mind that. I'll take care of it. That's a bunch of crap. The Supreme Court and the courts of appeal tell us which end is up. And by the way, Trump's not entirely correct about the Ninth Circuit. Is it a wacky circuit? Yeah, a lot of weird stuff comes out of the Ninth Circuit. But in addition to the bad stuff or the weird stuff, hey, they've pumped out a lot of correct stuff. So you got to take it on a case-by-case basis. Because I got screwed up cases from the Ninth Circuit. I've also got really great. Yeah, this is a case I'm going to use in my case from the Ninth Circuit. All the information's out there if people want to find it. So if you're not using your car for commercial delivery purposes, somebody owes you an explanation. How come you have to ask for permission to use your property to go to the grocery store or your place of worship? I want an explanation. I want someone to tell me why the hell so many people have driver's licenses when they don't do what the license permits. I already have a good idea. It's because the public schools don't bother teaching this stuff to kids. And unfortunately for me, I was pretty old by the time I came across the information. I want my money. I want my parents' money back for the crap that was shoved down my throat for 12 years. Because they left out a lot. The public schools are a disgrace. In any event, any more questions?
I don't see any. Let me see here.
Did I put everybody to sleep or something away?
Yeah, no.
You see?
We're not asleep. Here. Okay, Rick. You've been unmuted. Hi, Rick. You've been unmuted, Rick. Do you have your phone muted, maybe?
Okay. Hey, Angela. Hey, Rick.
There you go.
Howdy.
This is Rick. I talked to you last week there, Rich, on the phone. We had a little.
You're the compulsory camper, right?
Rick, do you have your speakerphone on? Because we're getting a lot of feedback. Can't do that. Gotta have just your regular phone on.
Okay. Is that better?
Much better. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, I had trouble getting called in out here, and then tried getting in the chat, couldn't get in, but I did see Brother Charles was on there. And, yeah, I just, like I said, it was surprising to see Rich on tonight. And I spoke with him last week there. And, yeah, I'm in that Oasis camping there, Rich. So,
Well,
I got some new
Go ahead.
I got some new developments that I'll talk with you on the private side about.
Not a problem. Here's what I want you to know, Rick. Regardless of your present circumstances, the key issue is everybody on this call is the boss. You got to get that into your head. You're the boss. The police, the judges, the dog catchers, all those people, and I can hear the chuckling and the yeah right already. They're our employees. Now, we've been negligent, and we haven't been controlling our employees. We don't know how to control them. We don't know how to speak with them correctly. And so what I'd like for everybody to know is that's what we are in relation to folks on the government payroll. And they don't just get to come up and start throttling us with questions and commands and stuff unless they have the correct paper. Now, everything I've heard from you, Rick, is you ain't done nothing wrong.
That's correct.
Somebody is harassing you, and I think the only reason they're doing that is because they know that you're in a very awkward position, and you really can't fight back the way you would if your physical circumstances were different. So as far as I'm concerned, these guys have selected the wrong target, so to speak, because you seem to have a good spirit about you, and once you get hooked up with the right information, you're going to be able to use that Cat 9 more efficiently. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean.
Yeah. I do. I know what you mean. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do. That's what is putting a hamper on the new developments that has happened here. Is the man that's in my circumstances that's doing the wrongs I explained to you. Well, it's hampering me from leaving right now. My father had passed away, and there has to be papers, to be signed for appearance. And I'm unable to leave because of this man that's done all this with the taillight bulb.
Yeah.
So that just compounds it,
No, I hear what you're saying, and I feel I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm also sorry that you're having to deal with this manufactured bullshit. When you're not able to deal with normal life stuff, and this is one of the reasons I do what I do. It's a challenge.
That was the other thing today, because I've been trying to get notice out that, hey, I'm not lost at sea, because I'm in Colorado, and that was all back in Illinois there. It's going on with the funeral and that. And I guess they had my name in the newspaper because they couldn't find me because I've been held down hostage from this man out here. Anyway, I learned that there's a code that the time has elapsed for me to appear for court for the inheritance, and that I was like, a code? What kind of code? Anyway, I called the sheriff's office, my public servant back in Illinois, and you know what I was told? I asked for her name so I could verify that I'm alive, I'm not missing, you can take me out of the newspaper. The lady, I asked for her name. She goes, I'm dispatch. And I said, excuse me, can you repeat that? And she goes, I'm the dispatcher. Okay, can I have your name? I said, I'm the dispatcher. That's all you need to know. Okay, well, then I explained to her, I've been in a newspaper back in Illinois, trying to look for me, public notice to claim my inheritance. And she's like, okay, so what's that have to do with me? And I'm like, okay, can I speak with the sheriff? Is he in? I don't know. I don't believe so, but what do you need? I said, well, I need to speak to a man or a woman. I'm a man, and I'm trying to address that I'm not missing, I'm alive, and if I just want to make a record for this, that I'm, at least, well, I can't verify that you're you, so I was like, okay. So you're a public servant, correct? And you're Miss Dispatch or Miss Dispatcher. And she says, sir, what are you needing? And I explained this to her again.
Okay, Rick, let's get into the details offline. And what I'd like to do is point at a couple of things you've already said that I think are important.
Okay.
All right. What you're doing is you're talking to your employee, and your employee is giving you the bum's rush, right?
That's correct, I believe.
Okay, great, and you're correct. Now, the guy I've been working with has run into the same thing. There's people who are not disclosing their name. Now, for me, that's intolerable. So when I hear, so I do a lot of phone calls to the state capitol. I call lawmakers' offices a lot. I do a lot of lobbying. And I tell them what I want, and I tell them my opinion and stuff like that. So typically, I'll start the conversation with, "Hi, I'm calling about whatever, and I have an opinion. I have no party affiliation." And I start telling them what I'm telling them. And typically, they don't identify who they are. But what typically happens is I'll be developing my opinion, and then I'll be interrupted with, "Oh, what's your name?" And typically what I'll say is, "Well, what's yours?" And if they don't tell me their name, then and they ask me, "Well, sir, then I get an explanation. "Well, sir, this is for our," I don't care what it's for. I don't give a shit. Okay, what I give a shit about is what I'm on the phone talking about. I don't care about their policies or what they have to do. That's their problem, not mine. I don't want to hear about it. So if they go, "Well, sir, it's for," "Oh, thank you very much. So, okay, great." So I'll just keep talking. I don't tell them my name. I just keep talking. Or if they tell me their name, I'll tell them, I'll make up a name just to keep it going. It depends on how they do it. If they're particularly snotty, I'll take them on a bit of a ride they won't like. But this is normal. A lot of times they won't engage in the common courtesy we would expect from our employees.
That's correct.
So they'll speak with you in a way that you're not comfortable with, or it seems kind of foreign. "Well, sir, I'm a dispatcher." "Okay, well, what's your name?" "Well, sir, my name is," "I want to talk to your supervisor." If these assholes don't want to talk to me, thanks a lot. Turn me over to your supervisor. I'm not going to sit around and interact with these creeps. They're getting paid, and they're not working, and they're scared of something, but they don't even know what I'm talking about. They don't want to cooperate and give me basic information. Let me talk to your boss. Why do we want to do that? Shit runs downhill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shit in whoever's ear is their supervisor, and hopefully whoever answered the phone and is not cooperative with me like they expect me to be cooperative with. I don't like being like this. I don't want to act like this.
I agree that, and you bite your tongue, and you try to be polite in that. And to me, is they're being derelict in their duty. And all I wanted is to make a record. I think there's a 90-day statute that if I can't be found, then there's already a failure to appear, FTA. I didn't know what. I went to the website and it said FTA, and I said, "What's FTA?" I found failure to appear. And that a motion for non-appearance within a 90 days to come forth for my inheritance. Well, I'm at 86 days, and I wanted my public servant to let the sheriff know that "Sheriff, can you go to the magistrate and say, we found him, he's here?" But no, he couldn't do none of that,
Well, again, okay, now here's something that I want to point out. Everything having to do with what's being discussed on Angela's calls, all of them, all have to do with the same exact thing. It's jurisdiction. So here, and this might be an uncomfortable question, but I'm going to pose it anyway. Does the possibility exist, Rick, that your seemingly reasonable request was beyond the scope of what whomever you were talking to could do or had to do? Does that possibility exist?
I'm trying to understand that question, man.
Okay, if they didn't have to do what you wanted, right, then you would be shut out, correct?
Yeah.
Like you were calling them to ask them to do something reasonable. "Hey, I'm alive. I'm breathing. Right. Here I am. Hi." Okay.
Yeah, take me out of the newspaper. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, what if there's no rule that applies to them where they have to do what you want? That kind of puts us in an awkward position, right?
Yeah.
I've had my ass kicked in court for this that very reason. Like, so I've gone to court And whenever I would get done with court, I would come back and I would call Richard, who I was working with at the time, and also his number two, my other teacher, is Steve. So I would always debrief with these guys after I got out of court. And invariably, I would be introduced to the fact that I screwed it up and that I was asking the court to do something it was under no obligation to do. Oh, I see. Oh. Well, you get bitch slapped 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you start thinking about things like jurisdiction.
That's the way I was
Okay,
thinking. I called the non-emergency number for the sheriff's office there in Union County. And after what we went through, I just explained to you, I was so much tempted because you couldn't make a record to verify me. I was almost tempted, since they make a big deal calling 911 and it's not emergency. But if I called 911, well, then they could raise up some stir about that I was calling them non-emergency. Then I'd be noticed, see.
Okay, so let me ask another question. How is the dispatcher going to know you're who you say you are? How are they supposed to?
Because I believe 99.999% of the time, the call is being recorded. The ID is on there, because if you'd made some kind of anything threat, they'd be right on you, or for any kind of circumstances. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that would be some kind of a record. But as far as, again, back to the public servant, I am making myself known. This is your job. This is your duty. I just kindly let the magistrate know that we're on 86 days, 90 days, so-called your code expires. Let them know. Just let them know I'm alive, okay?
Okay, so I'm gonna be a stick in the mud here. So you contacted the sheriff, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think contacting the court might be a little more direct?
Well, I did try contacting the court, and I got to go do paperwork.
And you got to what?
I got to do paperwork in order to file, is what I'm told. I said, I just want to let someone know that, hey, so we're down from 90 days that you say, but I'm at 86. I just want to let someone know. Well, you have to turn in your paperwork. So I thought, I'm not getting nowhere there. Let's go to the sheriff. Maybe he can do it. The magistrate, that's his duty.
Well, yeah, that's currently your belief, but unless you've seen a rule where he's required to do that, there's going to be a bit of an issue here. Here's an idea. A declaration of you. I declare I'm me. I'm alive and I'm in Colorado. And get that to the court as soon as possible. One way or another. We can talk about this offline if you like, but that's an
fine.
idea. In other words, if it was me, I would want to get something to the court, because that's where all the crap's going to happen, is at the court. And so the objective would be to get some evidence into that jacket that has to do with your business that you're referring to. That would be my effort. So again, we can talk about this offline if you'd like, and take it from there. But I think calling the sheriff was a good idea. But
my belief is that the sheriff is there for the people. He's a public servant. He's there to serve. Right.
You can. Well, that's in theory. Yeah, that's true. But keep in mind that if there's no rule where the sheriff or anybody at the sheriff's department has to or may do what you'd ask, I think you're going to be running into a windowless wall.
But if there was a report of crime, they would respond to that, though, wouldn't they?
Well, that's different. What you want them to acknowledge is you're alive, and then send a carrier pigeon over to the court to let the court know you're alive. Okay?
Right.
My recommend would be to dispatch a carrier pigeon to the court. Leave the sheriff out of the deal.
No,
anyway,
this happened.
What's that?
I said, this happened, today, this afternoon, and
Okay.
I'm just, I'm trying to get out, to get the pigeon out without this man that's been holding me hostage here.
No, I completely understand your predicament, and I would not want to be in it. And I think it's really traumatic and despicable what they're doing, because it sounds to me like they're targeting you for some reason, and
because
they're
I speak
aware.
up. It's because I speak up, and I believe it's because I speak up and I'm on these calls.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people are being targeted. Obviously, there was a report today, as a matter of fact, over in Delaware. I think somebody was eating in a Mexican restaurant, and some woman came up and slapped the MAGA hat off the guy's head. And the woman was subsequently arrested and called the guy a mother, and because he's a Trump supporter. People are lunatics. Trump's not the problem. Yeah, Trump is just not the problem. The problem lies in the mirror. Okay, people have a problem. Look, when I was a sophomore in high school, our entire school turned out one day to protest the dress code. Girls couldn't wear pants, and guys couldn't have mustaches or sideburns, if they could grow it. And the next day, there was no more dress code. I'm not going back. You wear what the hell you want. You want to wear a gay pride shirt? I don't give a shit. You want to wear whatever else you want to, go Navy? Far out, man. Enjoy your threads. But you get up in my face with it and use it as something like that Indian did to that kid, we're going to have some problems. But as far as what you want to wear what the hell you want. Make America great. That is not a cape and a gown and a pointy hat where you can't see the idiot's face with the KKK on it, okay? You can see who's wearing a MAGA hat. Make America great. I don't know what the hell that means, but I'm not going to walk up to somebody and whack that off somebody's head. It's stupid. It's vague in it. Make America – how? It's like keep Tahoe blue. Keep Lake Tahoe blue. Anybody ever seen those any Californians seen those bumper stickers? Keep Tahoe blue. Does anybody ever tell you how to do that? You know what it takes to keep Tahoe blue? You got to put plenty of acid in that water to kill the algae. That's why it's blue and not green. How do you keep Tahoe blue? It's like make America great again. Okay, when? Who's going to do it? Where do we begin? It's vague and ambiguous. It's just a slogan, and people are acting as if it's a loaded 44 with hollow point bullets. These people are insane. I got problems with people who wear suits and ties, okay? I figure if you're wearing a suit and tie and you got a haircut, there's something wrong with you. Because, you see, I don't need to wear a tie to speak truth. Oh, and by the way, for all you guys who wear ties, you know why ties were invented? The answer is on the net. Go look it up. Because back in the olden days, people
It was a British thing, right? British.
Yeah, people. The reason for the tie is because buttons were not considered cool. You got to cover them up. So ties are a cover-up. Ha, ha, ha. It's a cover-up. It's just like the asshole FBI official who put the tape over Roger Stone's camera. It was a cover-up. So people wearing suits. And you notice all the politicians. What the hell's wrong with these people? Who wants to hang around with people who wear gray day in and day out? Of all the colors of the rainbow, no. Gray, day in and day out, various shades of gray, and then various shades of red ties. These guys are it, and then they're supposed to be considered bona fide, credible. Anyway. I'm going off on a tangent, but Rick, yeah. So let's hook up. Why don't you give me a buzz in the morning, and we'll chat. And see if we can get something squared away here for you, okay? Is he still there?
No, I don't think so. I think we lost him. I don't see him. Rick,
Okay. Well,
are you still here? I know, but Charles wants to talk to you anyway, so
okay.
go ahead, Charles.
Uh, Hi. Um, did I have a question a while back?
Yeah, you told me to unmute you, and then I muted you back because you made
Hey,
all that noise.
I have a question for Charles.
Okay.
Sure.
Hey, Charles, what state are you in?
Right now I'm in Colorado.
Okay, Colorado. Outstanding. So is Rick. So
Yeah.
do you have access to the net, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you pull up the vehicle code while you're there and look for the word arrest. Okay, and you'll be able to confirm whether I'm full of shit or not, right? It's either in there or it's not. So everybody who's by a computer, pull up your state vehicle code and look for the word that your lawmakers used in that book to identify what the cop does. Okay? Just do it right now. Confirm for your own self whether or not I'm telling the truth. Just pull up your codes and see if you can find traffic stop, detention, or whatever in the procedures for them. But what people will see at California Vehicle Code Section 40504 is arresting officer, arrestee in custody, release forthwith. So a traffic stop is a warrantless arrest, and you're held in custody until the officer issues the notice to appear, at which time you're released from custody forthwith. Now, I don't know what people need to see before they alter their belief that a traffic stop is an arrest. Because the California Vehicle Code, the very book they're wanting to throw at us, contains the very information we need to take them out. And then you combine that with the penal officer at the time of your contact. Was I free to leave? No. Was I being restrained? Well, you could say that. Thank you. Officer, do you have personal knowledge of Penal Code Section 835? I don't care how he answers. I got it out of my mouth onto the record. Now it's going to have to be dealt with on appeal. So in any event, I thought I'd kill a little time while people are pulling up their codes to see what word has been provided by their own state legislature to identify the police contact. What's it called? What are the procedures applicable to? Detentions, traffic stops, traffic enforcement stop. What do the procedures apply to? Been able to locate it, Charles?
No.
Okay. Well, at least you know where to begin looking.
Pardon me?
At least you know where to begin looking.
Right. I know your words are true, Rick. I've spent enough time in the codes to know the general way they obscure the truly powerful issues and they don't talk about them.
Well, I think any restraint is pretty talked about, you know. So and that we're under arrest and the guy in custody and we're an arrestee and the officer is an arresting officer. I mean, look at 40500 of the California Vehicle Code. You'll see arresting officer, arrestee, and arrest. And 40300 is what we're going to find the procedures on arrest. So in California, at least, they're telling us in no uncertain terms what it is. It's not a traffic stop, but if that's what you'd like to call it, then guess what? The burden shifts to the accuser to prove traffic.
Right.
Now, here's what's going to sink this lunatic actor who falsified this claim he was beat up. They've got the video of the two Nigerian dudes buying the damn caps that they wore. They've got the video. It's evidence. That guy is going to jail. Okay. Now, if you get pulled over, right, you would go to jail if they produced a receipt, an order, a manifest, a bill of lading, something that represents you were being compensated at the time of the contact. And if you happen to be with somebody and the officer uses the word passenger or passenger seat, if it was me, objection, hearsay foundation assumes facts not in evidence. What? You want me to repeat that, Your Honor? Yeah, hearsay assumes facts not in evidence and foundation. There's no evidence before the court to draw a conclusion that party sitting over there was a passenger. Well, sir, everybody knows. Well, that may be, Your Honor. Everybody knows, but they didn't pay me. Folks, a passenger is a customer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A driver is an employee. A motor vehicle is a tool the employee uses to deliver stuff for compensation. Everybody delivering pizza right now is a driver. They're a driver. They use a motor vehicle to deliver merchandise. They're using the streets for commercial purposes. If you don't do that, then the rules that apply to that guy cannot apply to you because the verbs are different. One's commerce, the other is non-commerce. I don't know what people need to see.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in the vehicle code here, and I put in the words traffic stop, and it came up a whole bunch of times.
Probably three. There's only the three references.
Four times.
Okay, well look at where they're at. They have to do with insurance.
Well,
okay?
This one is vehicle code 42009, Article 1, public offenses relating to special traffic stops relating to reckless driving. I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay.
This one's about.
Okay, so you found now go to 40504. Okay, or 40504. As far as I'm concerned. Go ahead.
I was at 40504 a minute ago.
And you saw arresting officer, arrestee in custody, correct?
Well, it says offenses and prosecution here. Article 2, release upon promise to appear. Then it says 40504A, the officer shall deliver one copy of the notice, blah, 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 blah. Do you want me to read the whole thing? No.
Just look for the word. Okay. Well, all right. Here's what I'm going to do. You appear to be having a hard time finding the.
Oh, I see it. Notice to appear to the arrested person and the arrested person in order to. Yeah.
You see, in order to secure release from what? Well, they were nice enough to provide the term custody. The arrested person, custody, arresting officer. What? It's not. They didn't. They could have used the word traffic stop, but they didn't. Now go to 40300. Just go to that section, 40300.
Okay. Wait. Okay. There. Article 1 arrests. 403, the provisions of this chapter shall govern all peace officers in making arrests for violations of this code without a warrant for
Thank you.
Committed
you got it.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay. Now go to 40500.
Okay. Whenever a person is arrested for any violation of this code, not declared to be a felony, or
stop right there. You did it. You got it. Not declared to be a felony. An infraction's not a felony, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whenever a person is arrested for any violation of this code, not declared to be a felony. When people are stopped for an infraction, they're arrested for an infraction. Now, in that section, you see the word arresting officer and arrestee. And arrest. Okay, you have arrested, arresting officer, and arrestee. Traffic stop is not used in these sections because that's not what it is. It's an arrest. There's no such thing as a traffic stop a traffic stop person. It's arrested person. Any restraint is an arrest. That's what it says at 835. Officer, at the time of your contact, was I free to go without fear of retaliation or retribution? No. Would you have chased me? Yeah. Okay. So I was restrained. Is that correct? Yeah. In other words, I couldn't leave until you said so. Is that right? Yeah. So I was restrained. Yeah. Even if I didn't want to be restrained, I was still restrained because you said so, right? Yeah. All right. Penal Code Section 835. I was under arrest. None of the terms you found traffic stop have to do with the rules. They don't say a cop gets to make one. What they talk about in these code sections I just mentioned are the procedures that apply to cops when they make a warrantless arrest. These are the rules they have to follow. And we're informed at 40500 whenever a person is arrested for any violation of this code, burned out light bulb, or for a violation of an ordinance of a city or county relating to traffic offenses. What does traffic mean? Commerce. This is all commercial, an allegation you broke a rule that applies to commerce. It's like the vehicle code is a book of employee regulations. The employee regulations apply to people who deliver pizza and flowers and dead bodies and not dead bodies. If you deliver something for money, you're a driver. If you use a quote-unquote motor vehicle to do it, that's the equipment used to deliver. There's a commercial regulation of the streets and highways, and there's those rules don't apply to going to visit Granny. There's rules of the road. I'm not encouraging that people engage in reckless, dangerous, or otherwise harmful conduct. Nobody wants to run into anybody. Nobody wants to get run into. It's common sense. Rules of the road. When you come to an intersection, slow down. Look both ways before crossing. Hey, that was a valuable lesson I was taught by Mom and Dad. Haven't forgotten it.
Yeah, you're right.
Anything else?
Trafficking drugs, trafficking people, trafficking children. So all
Trafficking
has
in
to do with
trafficking in tennis shoes, refrigerators, TVs. Yeah, trafficking. You're right. In drugs, drug trafficking. This is again, we've been suckered by propaganda and the misuse of words. Now
also
these idiots over.
communication
Go ahead.
system, data traffic between remote workstations.
No, here's
Yeah.
something that I don't know. The history buffs on this call are probably aware of this, but one of the first things an invading army does is it changes the language. Now, these lunatics in Virginia are attempting to take the word murder and morph that into 3 words. After abortion, or after birth abortion, ABB, after birth abortion, 3 words instead of murder. So if you use after, the American Bar Association. Okay. So you see, the attorneys were hey, folks, just so you know, attorneys are behind everything, all right? So at the end of the day, your target is the asshole wearing a suit and tie who's pretending to know the law. Okay, everybody in between, they're just a bunch of bullshit artists because they don't actually read the laws. They just spout off crap thinking they're important. And if that gets them a watch without having to do any work, hey, they're going to think they're smart. So in any event, we have a really great opportunity here to simply utilize the rules that are going to be referred to and have been referred to day in and day out for the last 2 months over at Fox. I don't like the people there. They're not my style. I think they're squares. But here's what they're doing. They do more to present the legal basis for what's happening than any of the other networks. The other networks are simply engaging in, they're staying away from the law stuff. Like Hannity, for example, he's not an attorney, but the attorneys he has on his show know what the hell they're talking about. Same thing with Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham was a law clerk. She was a law clerk for a Supreme Court justice. She knows law. And she's doing a great job of mediating and presenting information in a legal context. And Lou Dobbs is pissed off as hell. He just wants justice, and he's having folks on too, and so Fox is doing a good job of having attorneys on who actually speak in law terms that are, well, this is actually correct. Because you can look it up, and Greg Jarrett, for example, is an attorney, and he's on Hannity all the time, and he's come out and he's pegged Hillary for 7 felonies. I've got the screenshots of every one he's cited. And then you got Jay Sekulow from the he's one of Trump's attorneys, and this dude is great. I've seen him testify at numerous hearings before Congress and the Senate, and he was I first saw and became aware of Jay Sekulow during the IRS inquiry about them dragging their ass on 501c4 groups who had, I guess, a Republican bias, if you will. And I thought, his presentation to Congress was just brilliant, and it's all based on the law. And same thing with Trey Gowdy. I mean, these guys are the ones that are coming out. And Jeanine Pirro, I can't stand that woman's voice, but you know what? From an attorney standpoint, her legal assessment of the Russiagate stuff is correct. And Hillary Clinton, same thing with Gowdy, same thing with Jason Chaffetz. Jason Chaffetz is from Utah. He quit the company, and he used to be the chair of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. Now, the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee is the committee that looks into federal government corruption. Ha, ha, ha. Right, I know. Well, hey, folks, you ought to take a look at the asshole sitting on that panel now. It's unbelievable. And the same thing with the Judiciary Committee and the Foreign Intelligence Committee. These people, some of these people, like this Muslim chick who was on there with the scarf, and she's grilling Elliot Abrams. Now, that guy belongs in prison or stood up against the wall as far as I'm concerned because of what he did. And that chick, that Muslim chick, jacked him up the other day, called him on the crap he was involved with Bush in Iran-Contra. Hey, folks, what you're in the middle of is Iran-Contra 2.0. Wake up and smell the Venezuelan oil. They're trying, it's the same thing. It's the different places, different people, but it's the same stuff. I just saw a report today. Drug money from this El Chapo asshole was claimed through USBC Bank. Wonder if Mr. Comey had any relationship to that particular bank. Yeah. See, all this stuff came up during Reagan, Bush. As a matter of fact, there was a Democrat. You guys can look this up. Henry Gonzalez from Texas. All you Texans, you need to be proud of Mr. Gonzalez. That guy brought impeachment papers twice against Reagan and once against Bush. That's right. Henry Gonzalez of Texas. That guy did good. He's currently dead, but he did good when he was above ground. Look into what he did. Look at the stuff he was looking into. You'll see. It's all related to what's currently going on. It's the same stuff. It's the same exact stuff, just different people. In any event, I'm drifting. Just study the law, folks. Look at your codes. Any more questions?
Yeah, Mark Lawrence, you've been unmuted.
Hey, Angela, Rich,
Hi.
thanks for. Hello. Enjoy your show. It's awesome as usual.
Thank you.
I would like to ask Rich about his experience on foreclosure, and
Okay.
have you dealt with that?
Yeah, here's what happened. Okay, now, admittedly, full disclosure, I haven't spent much time on that, in that part of the law library. However, I'll offer this. I was invited to work with a guy on a traffic case, and so I accepted the offer. And this one night we were sitting in his living room, and there was about 7 or 8 people, including him. And then, I was there. And all these people were in various stages of either they lost their house, they're trying to get their house back, or it was about to be foreclosed on. I was stupefied. Here I am sitting in a room full of statistics, and I don't know anything about this. Okay. Well, I had a crash course in foreclosure and mortgages. And to answer your question, I've got a dearth or very limited awareness of this issue. What I am aware of is whoever claims to be the owner, possessor, whatever of the house, the property in question, they have to have 2 pieces of paper. But what I learned was they've only got one, and they don't know where the other one is. So that's what I'm aware of. Look, I'm going to throw out someone who I learned about when I was working with this dude and these people who were working on foreclosure. As a matter of fact, one of the days that we went to court, this guy had a hearing, so we had to go to Oakland to go to court. And when we got back, his front door had been kicked in. The cops kicked it in. And so we weren't staying there no more. And so
Why did you kick it in?
Well, because he used, I suppose what you could say, novel or unorthodox procedures to secure his interest, and it didn't work. As a matter of fact, none of the people sitting in that room that night, none of those people, got their houses back, and everything was sideways. Now, have you heard of a guy named Bill Thornton?
I don't think so.
Have you heard of a guy named Kelby?
No.
Okay. Well, so these folks were, I suppose you could say, acolytes or proponents of Bill Thornton's work. And Bill Thornton was, this mortgage guru kind of guy or something, I don't know. And then this Kelby guy, he's got a website called In His Name or something like that. He's supposedly a religious guy. And so they're promoting this methodology about how you go about protecting your house. And as far as I'm concerned, well, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm aware of. I don't know anybody who's been successful using that method. And what I've heard Kelby say, I disagree with. And I've actually spoken with Bill Thornton when, years and years ago, because he knew Richard McDonald, and, everybody kind of sort of knew everybody. And those were the kind of fledgling years for a lot of this law stuff. But long and short of it is, I don't know much about the mortgage issue because I'm not I don't have one. But what I am aware of is that the holder of the paper has to have 2 papers, and they only have one. At least that's what I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, is it possible to get your email address?
Yeah.
I'd like to send you an email. I've been in Congress for 7 years, and I'm familiar with you speak often of the big picture of the political and geopolitical events and the effect, and a lot of times these phone calls are very microscopic, very detailed and small, and you deal often with the larger picture, and I'd like to talk to you about that.
Not a problem. You want to get detailed? I'll put you to sleep. I mean, I can haul out stuff that takes us from the First World War to real time, current events. So that's just a me thing. But sure, it's fundamental privacy at protonmail.com.
Okay, I'll do that. I have some of my own ideas. There's some from others and some from myself. I'm very much more a student of that than I am of this. But you and I will have a great conversation. I promise you that.
All right. Should I bring my own beverage?
Well, you have any Pappy Van Winkle?
So this will be, or is this going to be a potluck get together? Yeah. Hey, by the way, go ahead.
Are you in California?
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead. By the way, what?
Hey, yeah. Okay. For all you folks who are having a hard time financially, a brand new market has opened up. It's called pot, marijuana, grass, weed, mota, whatever you want to call it. A brand new market has opened up. Okay? And it's legal. I'm not suggesting people smoke it. I'm suggesting people look into how they can tap into this brand new market. You got a brand new mall that's been built, and it's filled with a lot of empty spaces. And Trump just signed a bill. It was either today or yesterday, legalizing hemp production. The smoking lamp is lit, folks. Go crazy. Okay? Hemp is good stuff. You can make paper out of it. You can make plastic out of it. You can make fuel. The oil in the seeds can be burned in a diesel engine. Say bye-bye to that dinosaur. Go ahead.
There's over 5,000 different products from hemp. And to quote George Washington, you can look it up. He says to take the Indian hemp seed and sow it everywhere.
I have
George Washington.
I have actual records from both Jefferson and Washington regarding what they were doing and stuff. There's we can, I'm interested in big picture, and then the big picture also has an effect on us locally, so however detailed you want to be about stuff, not a problem. I mean, I have a lot of interest, but in any event, as important as all these other issues are, if we can't get from point A to point B without feeling afraid, something is wrong. We're not growing our own food. We're not making our own clothing, so we have to leave, and quote unquote, they know it. So we become a potential cash stream for them.
Oh, it's all Agenda 21. I mean, that's part of it.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up because, that seems to be what's fueling the crap over in France. Those people are pissed off because Marcon went ahead and raised fuel prices to like $7.50 a gallon in one shot, and it's all part of this Agenda 21 crap. No more vitamins, no more Ayurvedic or unorthodox, medicine, or you figuring out how to take care of yourself. They just want us to be no more and driverless cars. That's funny. That's funny. These idiots think that people are going to tolerate robots rolling around. That's really funny. You know what's going to happen to those cars with no drivers in them? I know what's going to happen to them. Hey guys,
What?
hey guys, you know what to do with those driverless cars, right? Hey, you know what they're doing over in France? Those people are pretty smart. They're actually smarter than Americans. You know what they're doing? They're shooting the red light cameras.
Sweet.
They're losing body parts, right? For their freedom, for their liberty. And what's happening? The government employees are acting as if they're the boss. That's what's happening in Spain. That's what's happening in Greece. That's what's happening in Germany. That's what's happening in England and France and New Zealand and Australia. People are fed up being told what to do by their employees. Hey, voters, here's a question for you. Why do you tolerate your employees looking for a job while they have a job? Why are you tolerating that? How come you're not on the phone going, hey, I have a question. Warren's already got a job, right? Why isn't she in the office today? What the hell is she doing out there in Iowa? Iowa has nothing to do with me. What's she doing over there? Is she getting paid? What about Kamala Harris? What about that hag? Isn't she a senator? What's she doing in Delaware? How come she's not at U.S. Inc. headquarters taking care of business for Californians? She's looking for another job. All these clowns who already have a job, they're looking for another job on the voters' dime. Hey, voters, you going to do something about that? Or are you going to let these pigs rip you off? You're already paying for their medical, dental, and optical, including your own that you can't afford unless you've been Obamaized.
Not to mention their retirement.
There you go. These people are going to get out of there with a golden parachute, right? So here's the question. Everybody who's now stumping for a job, who's already got a job, why are you tolerating this? If I worked for you and I took off, hey, Joe, yeah, I'll be back in a couple hours. I'm going to go look for another job. Oh, thanks a lot, Frank. All right, see you when you get back. Good luck. Right.
You'd
by
get
the way, folks,
fired. You'd
go
be
ahead.
terminated immediately.
All right, so what are we going to do with these assholes running around looking for another job while they already have one, and they're getting paid for doing it? These creeps were stumping around on President's Day. Ha, ha, ha. The joke's on the voters. The joke's on the taxpayers. The U.S. citizens, not American nationals, okay? U.S. citizens are the taxpayers, and they're paying for these jerks to go riding around throughout the country looking for another job while they already have a job. So they're getting paid for doing work they're not doing while they're looking for another job. Oh, and by the way, you're going to hear the word race from now until that race is over. But guess what, folks? If it was a race, how come they need you? Does anybody push a car around Indy 500? Does any of the people in the stands push any of those NASCARs around the track? Any of the people in the stands with the ladies with the big, nice hats on Kentucky Derby Day, are they out there pushing the horses around the track? Those are races. And you'll notice that none of the spectators participate other than watching. So if this thing that's going to come up in 2020 is a race, why do they need me? Because it's not a race. They want a job. They're stumping for a job, but they want you to think it's a race. It's not a race. Bernie Sanders is a pig. He's got 3 homes. How many do you all have? He's a socialist. He's got a problem with Trump. Okay, great. He's got 3 houses. He's a sellout pig. You notice he's never talked about the guy who really dug him, who got murdered? Seth Rich. You notice how Bernie has not talked about Seth Rich? Gee, who is Seth Rich? Well, Seth Rich worked at the DNC, Democratic National Committee. He worked there 4 days before he was shot in the back and left for dead in the street. And he went and he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. And what he found out was that the DNC, who's supposed to be offering the same support to all the candidates, had thrown their hat in the ring for Hillary. Okay? So this guy discovered what was happening, and he went and had a chat with Donna Brazile. And on the 4th day of his employment with the DNC, he was shot in the back and left for dead. Funny thing, the assailants didn't steal his watch, and they didn't steal his wallet. He was transported to the hospital alive. The attending physician left his shift believing the guy was stabilized. When he got work, when the doctor got to work the next day, he found out that Seth Rich was dead. And he didn't get it. And ain't nobody talking about that. So you're gonna see the word coup, or I don't know if you folks watch any of these news shows, but the word coup has been used an awful lot lately. And I've heard the term Gestapo tactics used an awful lot lately. Now here's the thing with this bloodless coup crap. No, it's not bloodless. Seth Rich is dead. And Bernie Sanders, that pig isn't saying anything about it. Nobody's asking him about it. But he wants a job. He wants to run the show. No problem.
Have you heard of the microbiologist named Joseph Moshe? I think he was out in California.
No, but I'm aware that a lot of microbiologists are dead. They're killing them too.
This is exactly right. A lot of them. The one that was pig-tied or hog-tied was ruled as suicide. Well, anyway, Joseph Moshe came over from Europe, and he was a microbiologist, and I believe it was Los Angeles. He went live on air and predicted that there was going to be this huge outbreak with millions of people in the Ukraine 5 months before it happened. And they ended up raiding him with a SWAT team and said that he made threats against the president. That's not what he did. He went live on the air and predicted it 5 months before it happened because of what they're doing, and which ties into, Agenda 21 and Communist Manifesto and depopulation and Bill Gates and a bunch of dead.
I mean, what they're doing is they're murdering people. Okay, they believe in this lunatic Thomas Malthus and what his report was. Thomas Malthus, as you probably know, was hired by the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers to do a study, I guess you could say an inventory of the planet. And Malthus' report came back that that the Earth could not sustain the number of people who were going to, predicted to show up in the next period of time. And so that information, and Alex Jones talks about this a lot, but listening to Alex Jones is like having your head next to a bullhorn, 24/7. Dude, I mean, I'm loud and I'm abrasive, but this guy is just, give me a break. And, listening to him talk is like sitting next to a rock polisher. I mean, it's very hard. But here's like that dude, that microbiologist, Alex Jones is broken news. He's broken news. And stuff that he's been saying has come to pass in spite of all the screeching and howling and all this other, all the stuff that he sells. It's like commercial AM radio. There's a commercial every 3 minutes, man. But he's still doing a good job. And in addition to that microbiologist getting picked off, all kinds of microbiologists are getting killed. There's been at least 5 attorneys who have wound up dead who are associated with this Clinton Gate stuff. They've been found fully clothed on the beach, stuff like this. I mean, murder is taking place. Simple. Murder is 9/11.
It's all over.
They
Have you
kill
ever heard of?
presidents and get away with it.
Right, they are.
Well,
have you ever heard of? Hey, Rich, have you ever heard of quiet weapons for silent wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, in there, I'll quote it, and I'll paraphrase it. It basically says this, and dealing with Agenda 21, Communist Manifesto, depopulation, is that humans, those that have brains and do not use them, are like cattle, and they freely offer themselves up on the table for sacrifice, which is euthanasia, and all that ties together. And the microbiologists, they're using all kinds of stuff, of course, chemtrails and all,
Well, at the end of the day, that saying from decades ago, better living through chemistry? Well, yeah, it's also better death through chemistry, because so many things are being adulterated, and it's hard to keep track of what is and what isn't. And then the people who are actually doing quality investigation and providing I guess you could say an honest opinion based on
real
facts.
news.
Well, yeah, real. And by the way, I deal with words a lot, and I want to point out that here's what Trump is wrong about when he keeps saying the word fake news. And everybody who uses the word fake news, that's incorrect. The sky is blue. The sky was cloudy today. That's news. It wasn't fake. It's either true or false, but it's not. News is not fake. It is. It cannot be fake. It's something. Okay? So everything that's being reported is something. I think Trump and all the other people using the word fake would make much better progress if they used the word fraud, because this is what we're in the middle of. What you're referring to, what everybody is referring to on this call, whatever people are experiencing, one way or another, is related to misleading or misrepresentation or inaccurate reporting. Not everything is actual fraud. It could be constructive. I know you didn't. Like sales tax, for example. I don't think any clerk, cashier in a store is intentionally ripping off the customer for the sales tax. My belief is they don't know the sales tax laws. Now, so I know they're not intentionally lying, but I'm still being misled. Unintentionally. I'm still damaged, even though their conduct was unintentional. But it's still not true. So if we use the word fraud, I think that's a positive thing. Another word is trespass or trespassing. So every time you hear the word illegal immigrant or illegal alien or the folks coming here or sanctuary, you think trespassing and trespassers. Everybody advocating sanctuary is advocating trespassing. Come on in. Never mind those rules. Stay with him. He'll pay for everything. You can't stay with me, and no, I'm not going to pay for anything. But he will. That's what the politicians are doing. None of those pigs advocating sanctuary have gotten in their own car, used their own fuel, and got food or made food, got any clothing, diapers, anything for those people that they care so much about. They haven't taken any of that stuff down to the folks on the other side of the wall down there in San Diego. Now, at the end of this month, a group of people who have been feeding homeless people in San Diego for like the last 5 years are going to have to close shop because of a law that was passed up in Sacramento recently. These folks use their own money, used their own kitchens, made food, their own time, used their own fuel, and went and delivered food, 200 meals like every Friday to homeless people, just gave the stuff away. And at the end of the month, they're not going to be able to do that because of a law that was passed here in California regarding sanitation issues and I guess where you do your meal preparation. So the Good Samaritans are going to be put out of business at the end of the month. But none of the pigs advocating sanctuary have gone down to that wall and tossed some water over, bottles of water, some diapers or something, or gone down there to build some places for the people to live in. I don't think they've gone down there with any lumber or nails or anything. So they sit in these different states or, Sacramento, and they blather on about sanctuary and these poor folks who are coming here, Well, hey, you know what? I could leave California if I wanted. I know how to get lost. That is where I'm from, and I don't like what's going on here. So I remember when I was younger, there was a bumper sticker on my grandfather's car, America, love it or leave it. And one day I was standing there looking at it going, well, I don't love it. I can't leave it. Kind of limits my options. Well, if I don't love it, I can't leave it. What does that mean? Well, I guess I better just stay here and take care of my own issues. So if I got a problem, I'm going to handle it. And I'm not going to wait for any of you to show up to do what I do, because people don't do that for whatever reason. A lot of people don't think, I'm speaking, you generally speaking, everybody, people don't pick up the phone and call their elected officials' offices, the people they hired, and said, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I have an opinion about Senate Bill 50. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm curious to know if the author of this bill has removed the locks on their doors. What? Yeah, I'd like to know if whoever promoted this bill wanting sanctuary, have they gotten rid of the locks on their doors? What are you talking about, sir? Well, if they don't mind uninvited guests stopping by, why do they have locks on their doors? And if wall is profane, then have they gotten rid of theirs yet? And if they have, what's currently holding up their roof? You got any drapes or shades? Do you have a shower curtain?
I hear you. Let me ask you one question. I'll leave you alone. What have you heard that police officers, there's a ceiling on the IQ test that if they score too high, they can't become police officers?
Yeah. And it's even better. There was a case a couple of years ago out of the Supreme Court. And what the case translates into is the cops don't have to know the law; they enforce. Yeah, if you don't know about this case, it's going to come. It's going to show up it's going to show up in court, because attorneys are going to run with this stuff. They're going to use the Lago Vista versus Atwater decision out of Texas. In a traffic case, a woman was stopped for not wearing a seatbelt. She wound up being taken to jail. Had a baby in the back seat in one of those seats and stuff, but the cop took her to jail anyway, and went all the way up to. Oh, by the way, all the courts in Texas, they found in favor for the woman. I know, they found in favor. All the Texas courts, as the Texas Supreme Court, found in favor of the woman. Right, but the people in the DA, I guess, they didn't like the ruling, so they ran it up to SCOTUS. You know what SCOTUS held? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the officer had discretion to either give her a notice to appear or take her ass to jail. Well, he exercised option number 2. He's good to go. He didn't lose his immunity. Well, guess what? California attorneys are going to haul that case out to justify why you should be found guilty for an infraction. There's just one little old problem with that Lago Vista versus Atwater case. In Texas, yes, not wearing a seatbelt is a misdemeanor. But in California, it's an infraction. Oh, and here's another question. Do Texas assembly members make law that applies in California? I didn't think so. So people are going to have to figure out how to deal with this Lago Vista versus Atwater case, and then this other lunatic decision, Hain versus North Carolina or South Carolina, Heine, I believe it is. That's a gem too. And within 1 month after that decision, I knew this was going to happen. I didn't know how soon it was going to happen, but as soon as I read that case, it was used 1 month after it came out, after it was decided, and it's been used. It's for Hain versus North or South Carolina. I forget which one it is, but it's a very bad decision, and it's a federal decision. It comes from the Supreme Court of the United States, but it's a bad decision. No, I'm not a judge. I didn't go to law school. I went to the law library. Hey, folks, you want a law lesson? You want a law career? Go to the law library. Every single possible question you could ask will be answered at the law library. All the answers are there. Anything else?
There's just so much silence. Oh, it's God. Let's see here. Is that it for you, Mark?
Sure, I've taken enough time, I think, but sure. I'd like to hear some other people and their scenarios. I always learn, so.
Yeah, but we've gone over the 2-hour mark, so.
Well, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Mike wanted to say something. Mike, did you want to ask a question, or are you just going to announce your call?
Oh, my call is actually going on now, but I have
You're on my call, asking a question, and you're having a call?
Yeah, I have a few people over right now.
Okay.
I got rapport over here, but
okay.
But right now I've got a question. Considering how dumbed down most of these people are at law in general, what I thought I was going to do is maybe I could play the dumbed down person and ask you a stupid question that maybe it might be able to actually help everybody out. If you want to play along with that, real quickly.
Go ahead.
How do you get the cop on the witness stand?
How do you get him on the witness stand?
Yeah. Now remember, I'm playing a stupid guy. This is not Money Mike. This is some dumb guy who believes in all this other crap and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, dumb guy. Have you ever heard of the term subpoena?
I think so.
You know what it is?
Yeah, that's where you like send them a paper that has things that you gotta appear in the court or something like that.
Oh, okay. Does that answer your question?
I think so, but I don't
Okay.
know if it does it work. Does it really work for cops though? Because what I used to see, I used to watch on all the TVs and the TV channels that when they appear in court, they only do like when authorized by their superiors in the police system. I don't know if that's true or not, but it looks like it's legitimate since it's on TV all the time in the programs and stuff. So I'm just wondering what's going on with that.
Okay.
I'm a dumb guy.
Okay, great. So being a dumb guy, do you believe everything you see on TV?
Mute it. Thank you. Oh, thank
There you go.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I missed the thing because I got muted. Something happened. So
ask it again, Rich.
So hey, dumb guy, do you believe everything you see on TV?
Usually, yeah. I like Judge Judy.
All right, really good. Hey, well, I'll tell you what, no problem. I have a I'll tell you what, I have a telephone number for you to call, okay, and direct your questions to them. It's the you got something to write with? It's the Superior Court.
Yeah,
And,
I got this really light yellow
good.
pencil.
Outstanding. Okay, really, really good. Oh, well, better yet, if it's a yellow pencil, okay. Here's what I would suggest: let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages,
There
and
you go.
call. Yeah, and then
It won't
call the
disappear.
telephone.
It won't disappear on the yellow pages, won't they?
Well, it could.
All
It
right,
depends on the
enough.
shade of yellow.
No,
No, I
I
know, but
really, this is
I know.
useless. It's really not, I
Seems
don't.
like it, but it's not. No, I know that. Okay, so yeah.
All right,
All
have
right.
a good
All right.
call, Mike.
I get that, man.
Okay.
You know, there are some. Hey, Angela, just so you know, I consider myself somewhat helpful, and I'm willing to kind of help out. You know what I mean? But there's some folks I'm not gonna help out.
Yeah. Well, you
I'm
know, I
just not
understand
gonna.
though what he was saying because there are some situations when someone has a ticket or whatever, and they want the cop
Sure.
on the stand, and I don't know, they throw interference every way they can. But
Thank you. Yeah.
but anyway.
No, no. Actually, this is what's occurred in the case that I've been working on with this guy.
Mhm.
Now, this guy has been apprehensive and reticent, and he is convinced that they're going to get him, okay? You know, the whole gotcha thing.
Mhm.
And even though he's had this tremendous success thus far, it hasn't diluted his reticence, apprehension, or fear, whatever you might want to call it. And so a couple of the I don't know if they were judges or commissioners, but one of them was a woman, very soft-spoken. She did not raise her voice. She was very pleasant to the guy. And at the same time, she asked him one question. This is a question she asked him at one point at one of the hearings he was at. Well, sir, what would you like to do today? That's a loaded question. And she tossed that to a pro per. And he didn't know how to close the deal because of that very simple question. Well, sir, what would you like to do today? Well, Your Honor, what would you like us to do today? Well, Your Honor, here's what I'd like. I'd like you to terminate this case in the interest of justice because that jerk cop didn't comply with the rules that he agreed to comply with. And the court doesn't have jurisdiction to do anything, you see, because the cop never had jurisdiction to convey to the court. So everything you're doing is a sham. It's based on what you can't prove. The cop never had jurisdiction in the first place, and you can't acquire it just because you say so. But you already know that, don't you? Because you went to law school and passed. I didn't. So why you want to say that kind of stuff? Just terminate the action. And you know why. Unfortunately, we can't be that honest to the folks on the bench because they don't like honesty all that much. But that's pretty much what's happening. You know, and I would just suggest that the rules, people take a look at the rules and find out the limits of their employees' power. There's things a judge can do, and there's things a judge is prohibited from doing. So I would suggest that people take a look at the canons of judicial ethics for your state. Look through there, because those judges have to comply with those rules, in addition to all the other laws of California. And then look for the word shall. Those are the you gotta, Your Honor, rules. They don't have any discretion. If you see the word may, well, they can if they want to, but they don't gotta. So look for the word shall. The judge shall. The peace officer shall. Look through the codes. Look for the word shall. And then find out who that word is attached to. Peace officer shall, then they gotta. Peace officer may. Well, they don't gotta, but they can if they wanna. Well, guess what, folks? In California, no cop has to arrest me for any purported violation of the vehicle code. You know why? Because nowhere
Discretion.
in any of the, go ahead.
It's discretionary. I learned that from you.
Yeah, Penal Code Section 836. Peace officer may, without a warrant, make an arrest as long as they witness a crime. Infractions of the vehicle code, a burned out light bulb, are not crimes. So when the officer makes an arrest for a light bulb, they're making a warrantless arrest for non-criminal conduct. That's a crime. It's called false arrest or false imprisonment. It's a misdemeanor. The cop actually broke the law, and the cop forfeited their qualified immunity.
Okay, but Rich, I mean,
Yeah.
they've been doing this forever. Are you telling me you're the only person that ever called them on it?
No, I haven't. Look, as a matter of fact, I told you I had a pretty, Donnybrook conversation today with one of my teachers. And it was, I hurled a lot of profanity, and I don't do that. But I have recently because I've grown intolerant with his amateur antics or whatever you want to call them. They in any event, the issue that we're talking about a document. And the document in question we were discussing is a motion to dismiss. Now, I'm working on the statement of facts, okay? And then the statement of facts contains opportunities. I have the transcript of when the cop was asking the guy questions outside of his truck when he stopped him. I have that transcript. And twice the suspect asked the cop if he was under arrest, and the cop said no. However, when the guy asked the cop if he was under arrest, the cop had already been asking him questions about his behavior. He asked the guy if he was a diabetic, and the guy said yeah. And the cop went on to say that he was attempting to determine if the guy could drive home. As it turns out, the guy was about 1,000, I'd say like 500 yards from his house. He just had to go down the street, and his house was right there on the corner of that street right over there. And during the entire time the cop followed the guy, he did not witness anything he heard from the dispatcher. So the cop orders the guy out of his truck, starts asking him questions about his health, finds out the guy's a diabetic. At one point during the examination out there in the field, and the guy was never Mirandized, the cop mentioned that he smelled alcohol on the guy's breath. Well, any of you folks that are aware of diabetes, you're probably aware that one of the effects of it is that your breath can smell like alcohol, even though you haven't been drinking. It's just part of the symptoms. And so this clown cop found out that the guy had diabetes. When you listen to the audio, you can tell his speech was slurred. So he was clearly having an episode, and he said he was heading home to get his meds. But when the cop was following him, the cop didn't observe anything of what he heard from dispatch, which was swerving and slamming into curbs and stuff. So again, the cop never stopped him for that. He stopped him for a burned out light bulb. It's a classic pretext stop. And having said all that, I seem to be pretty confident or self-assured about all the stuff I'm saying. I know what the law is. Why isn't it working in court? Well, one of the issues that I raised with the guy today when we were talking about, what are going to be the reasons for this motion to dismiss? Well, to his credit, he brought something to my attention I hadn't considered, and that was a speedy trial issue. And the speedy trial issue turns on a duty imposed by the arraignment commissioner. The arraignment commissioner did not perform the duty. This is a mandatory duty. They did not perform it. Now, I was unaware of this until he brought it to my attention. And so I'm going, okay, great, bitchin', this is great. Thanks so much. And so while I'm in the process of figuring out what to put together in the motion to dismiss, I can't get away from what occurred during the incident. Number one, the cop made a warrantless arrest for non-criminal conduct, subjected the guy to interrogation without Mirandizing him. And those are two essential elements of the case, I believe. And it provides a foundation for this assertion. The officer forfeited his qualified immunity because he made an unauthorized warrantless arrest for non-criminal conduct. So the debate or argument today had to do with, hey, so do you have any awareness? This is a question I asked him. I go, do you have any awareness that anyone has used SAVA successfully? Now, for you folks who may be unaware of this, People versus SAVA, S-A-V as in Victor A, People versus SAVA. That's the only court case, to my knowledge, in California that contains these four words. Infractions are not crimes. That's the only court case in California history that I'm aware of that contains those four words. And that decision came down in 1987. It's a 31-year-old case. It's never been overturned, and it has not gone up to the California Supreme Court. What does that mean to anybody? It is the law. Infractions are not crimes. Here's the icing on the cake. The legislature never intended infractions to be crimes. All those words are in the court case. The court told us what an infraction is not. It's not a crime. And they told us what the legislative intended when they wrote the law about infractions. They never intended infractions to be crimes. This is a kill shot. Oh, you guys in the military, you know what I'm talking. It's a kill shot. And so I'm getting the shit ground out of me from my colleague because I won't just focus on the speedy trial issue. His position is solid. The commissioner has a mandatory duty. No problem. And his position is just use that one. Slam dunk. I don't think so. I got a solid 25 years under my belt of being in court. I've been in court over 100 times. I haven't been to, I haven't been in court of my own cases that many times. I've only had 7 or 8 cases of my own, but I've helped other people with their cases and gone to court with them. And I've witnessed, and I've got tons of transcripts from people I've assisted who, and I know what's gone in court. I don't trust the court. I don't trust those employees. The reason I don't trust them is because they're power whores. They don't want to work and they want money. No problem. So they're guarding the cash register and they want us to be scared and not ask any questions. Well, they convinced the guy I'm helping not to ask any questions. And whenever he did, they were reluctant. He was reluctant because he was afraid he was going to get yelled at. A lot of people are afraid of getting yelled at. Well, I'm not afraid of being yelled at. I mean, I'm taller than I used to be, and I don't tolerate my employees yelling at me. So my thinking is if he can kind of adjust his thinking to the point where he's confident as an employer and his uncertainty has to do with his own refusal to look at the rules, which I believe will dilute fear. I think the majority of people who have a hard time going to court are just, xenophobic. They heard that, this could piss them off, we'll get in trouble, I'll go to jail. People don't know that a fine-only offense doesn't result in jail. There is no jail for an infraction. You're not going to pick up any trash. So, yeah, I sound confident about what I'm aware of. Now, how come it's not working in court? Well, I think the majority of people are simply not asking the correct questions, and they're not following through with appeal. Now, I've got two guys that I helped out in 2012 were speeding cases, one here in California, one in Minnesota. Both these guys had, in my not so humble opinion, slam dunk cases. And in both cases, based on the questions I provided them to ask the officer on the stand, both judges admitted speeding is not a crime. I have the transcripts. I'm holding one right now. Okay? Both judges admitted speeding is not a crime. In the California case, the judge went on to say infractions aren't crimes. It's not an arrestable offense. But at the same time, a traffic stop is an arrest. And this judge, his name is Maldonado. He used to sit in the Monterey court. If you guys want to look into Maldonado, okay, he was a judge who heard the speeding case. This guy. Now, all the cases we work on or that I work on with people, we never raise the Fourth Amendment. This is California. You want to use the Fourth Amendment, go into a federal court. This is a state court we're in, so we're going to use California rules. So my guy never asked any questions about the Fourth Amendment, but that judge, man, his whole entire closing argument was a focus on Fourth Amendment this and Fourth Amendment that, blah, blah, blah. And then after the judge admitted speeding is not a crime, infractions aren't crimes, and it's not an arrestable offense, he found the guy guilty. Go figure. Same thing. No, and the same thing happened in Minnesota. The judge admitted speeding wasn't a crime, and then my guy got the cop to admit on the stand speeding wasn't a crime, and he was found guilty too. In two cases.
Guilty of what?
In speeding.
But if it's not a crime, how are you found guilty of it?
Good question. This is the problem we're running into. Okay, now up in the Bay Area, I was working with a guy, and he got 2 infractions, both for license plate. Okay, it's 5200 of the vehicle code. He didn't have a license plate on his truck. So he goes to court, and before he went to court, I told him what his options were about, like what do you want to address? Whatever you want to address, I'll lay a foundation for you. Okay, so he liked the idea about the notice to appear not being a complaint, and it's not. A notice to appear is not a complaint. It cannot be a complaint. It doesn't meet the definition of a complaint. So he goes into court. He starts asking the cop when it's his turn to ask questions. He examines the officer and starts asking him questions about the notice to appear. Now, in both of these cases, which were infractions, believe it or not, judges actually sat on the cases. Go figure. This is peculiar to me, but that's what happened. The first case, the judge made this statement on the record: we don't have a notice to appear. That's right, folks. We don't have a notice to appear. That's what the judge said on the record during the trial. However, that's the name of the paper that was handed to the defendant by the officer that the defendant was examining. Go figure. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, so a couple of months later, he's in a different court in a different county, same exact allegation. Once again, he starts examining the officer, and he asks the officer about the notice to appear. And the judge goes, we don't have a notice to appear. It's on the record. The guy I was helping out did a brilliant job as a rookie, a stone proper, getting that cop to admit the name of the paper. He had to ask him a whole lot of questions and risk admonishment from that retard judge, but he finally got the cop to admit what the paper was, and the judge took offense and dismissed the cop before my guy was done asking him questions. He dismissed the cop as punishment so the guy would stop asking him about the paper. And he dismissed the cop in the middle of the defendant's examination. I've read the transcript of that hearing at least 50 times. Nobody would believe that someone like this could be on the bench. It's one of the reasons I do what I do. They are cheating. And Angela, I get your frustration. It takes a lot to suppress. Takes a lot to suppress. Did you hear about that guy the cop shot while he was sitting in his car asleep the other day? He was sitting in a fast food restaurant parking lot, and I guess he fell asleep at the wheel. The cops killed him. They just killed him. He wasn't even awake. They killed him. Yeah.
What was their reasoning or excuse?
Well, he apparently the cops saw a gun in his car. They walked up to his car and they saw a gun. I guess they had their weapons drawn. So there were six cops on scene, and they just shot the guy. And there was this 11-year-old kid yesterday or the day before. He didn't want to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and so he was an 11-year-old, and I guess he put up a stink. So they wound up taking him to jail. And then
You're kidding.
An 8-year-old or 9-year-old or something back in Pennsylvania who was arrested for selling hot chocolate.
Mm.
So why is this stuff happening? I don't know. I'm as frustrated as you are. I can't figure this stuff out, Angela. I read the rules and then I look at the way people behave and I'm going, what's going on?
Yeah.
How can this be? How can people who are way more intelligent than me, have way more money than me, have a house, and all the accoutrements associated with being quote unquote successful and this sort of stuff? How come all this stuff is happening? How come people are not having? So anyway, the argument I got into with my colleague today had to do with, what do I focus on? Do I focus on, well, I think the speedy trial issue is really cool, but I don't think I just want to put one egg in that basket. I want to give them an opportunity to do the right thing, because we have 1, 2, 3 that the cop screwed up, and then the arraignment commissioner. Now, here's a question for all the law heads in conclusion. My throat's getting sore. The guy whose case was called stood up and approached the bench. When he got to the litigant table, this is what the commissioner heard. I waive reading, I plead not guilty, and I waive time. That was the first thing out of the guy's mouth. So, Angela, did it sound like he entered a plea? I waive reading, I plead not guilty, and I waive time. Okay, so this was after his name was called. Did he enter a plea? Did you hear a plea?
Not really.
Not guilty is a plea.
Well, did you say not guilty? I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
I waive time. I plead not guilty.
Okay.
And I
well,
waive
yeah,
reading.
then you pled or pleaded.
Thank you. Now, here's what happened. Here's what he heard after he said that. It doesn't work that way. DA, I forget what he said to the DA, but you guys have an offer? Okay, so what the commissioner eventually heard was my guy wanted to self-represent. So the commissioner saw to it that a Feretta waiver, the guy got a Feretta waiver and he was instructed to fill it out. So the guy's looking at it. He gets to the last question and he doesn't quite understand what it means. According to him, it looks like he's got a waive a right to save a right or get a right. And so he asked the commissioner about that last question, and the commissioner didn't explain it adequately to the guy, and he refused to sign it. So the commissioner appointed the public defender to represent him. And the public defender subsequently entered a plea of not guilty. So here's a question, law heads. Which plea is valid? And if the plea entered by the public defender is valid, did the defendant have standing at the time he entered his plea? This is very serious stuff. Oh, and by the way, the commissioner denied the still innocent defendant his right to self-represent because he wouldn't sign that Feretta waiver. And then secondarily, he denied the guy's right to forfeit or waive his jury trial. And eventually, those two rights were restored. And a few months later, a number of months later, those rights were restored. And this guy did not file any paperwork to get those rights restored. He walked in there as a rookie. He said enough stuff correctly to get what he wanted without having to file any paperwork. And it still hasn't translated into, hey, man, this stuff's cool. It worked, dude. I know. It's amazing what happens when you read the rules and you say the stuff kind of sort of correctly. They sandbagged the discovery until about a month ago. If I'd have had the audio CDs 5 months ago, this case would have been over. But they sandbagged the discovery. It took the judge during a hearing to suspend and then order the DA to go get the discovery and bring it back. They did so within 10 minutes. And you know what's on that audio? Exculpatory evidence. What that means is, for the folks who may be unaware, is the information on the CDs are very beneficial for the defendant. Now, we don't know if there's any dash cam video. As a matter of fact, I called the city, and I was told that the cop cars don't have dash cam videos. Well, in this case, that's very, that's great for them, because if there was a dash cam video, we'd be able to determine if that light bulb actually didn't work because the filament wasn't broken.
Interesting.
Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah.
Here's the good news. He's not responsible for any of it. But I don't think they're going to want him to get by because their party will be over. So I think one of the reasons that they're, well, I know. And that's why I don't like to, prejudge outcomes because there's too many unknown variables. So, all I do is look at the rules, I stare at the rules, and I think up questions. I read court cases, I look at stuff, and I go, oh, that's a nice phrase. I like that. I'll use that. Or I'll see something, and I'll think of a question. Or I'll go read another court case. That's what I do. And I don't know what's going to happen in a courtroom because there's too many unknown variables. You don't know if the judge is going to get up on the wrong side of the bed or anything. You don't know if they're going to be hungry. They may not like your hairstyle or something. I don't know. But the objective is to make their job as hard as possible. If they screw up, it's fatal. That's the objective. And I don't know how you're going to do that unless you know some of the rules that apply to them, especially the mandatory ones. Now, in California, a cop has to comply with Penal Code 841. When it comes to a so-called traffic stop, they never do. And nobody bothers to ask them when they go to court. I don't know why people don't want to look. Well, I do know why people don't want to look in the codes, because the stuff is awful to read. Doesn't make any sense. We haven't been trained to read that crap. But once you get the hang of it, makes perfect sense. Peace officer shall, peace officer may. Got it. Person. I know what a person is. They define that. I know what a pedestrian is. Define that. I know what a motor vehicle is. That's defined. Great. Everything's written down. It's just a matter of finding it and then figuring out how to discuss it. But we're dealing with cheaters who don't want to work, but they want all the benefits. They're going to cause us problems. So we're going to have to be a little bit smarter than the average bear boo-boo if we want to get the picnic basket without Mr. Ranger finding us.
Let's end it on that, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much, Rich. I appreciate you coming on and spending time with us and
Very
educating
good.
us.
Thank you. Hope everybody has a pleasant evening. I want to thank everybody for making the time to sit by and listen to this stuff. I hope I said something people can use. And
yeah, we got to hear it over and over again. It drills into my brain,
the law library and the internet, with you can do 90% of everything you need to do, and everything, and all the other stuff is not fatal. So anyway, thanks, Angela. Thank you, everybody. Have a
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a great weekend. All right, everyone. It's been fun. Next week we have Dan Benham coming on. He's got his book available. And I'll be sending out an email with a coupon to get the book for the $9.99 price. Let's see what else. It's raining here. That's it, I guess. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time right here, same place, same time. I love you. Take care of each other and have a good one. Good night, everyone.
Even if you don't have panels, you may still be able to get the benefits of solar with NV Energy's expanded Solar Access Program. We love clean energy, so we're giving you more ways to take advantage. Apply from September 1st to October 31st. See if you're eligible at nvenergy.com.